Hello students, so today we will be starting with a new topic. The new topic name is International Organization. This chapter is present in the class 12 book of Political Science, and today we will be studying that what do you mean by international organizations. So if I talk about international organizations, the examples are UNICEF, United Nations. These are all the examples of international organizations. Here you see an international organization is not a super state with authority over its members. It is created by and responds to states. It comes into being when state agrees to its creation. Once created, it can help member states resolve their problems peacefully. Now, if I talk about international organization was not set up to control the members of that organization, but it was being set up so that there can be peaceful consultation in a particular state. Like for example, if a state is in war or the two states are in war, during that time the international organization come into existence to solve the particular issues. Also, international organization can help in another way when the world cooperates with vaccinating their population when a disease comes as a plague. Now, during COVID-19 also international organization came to help the people who are actually in the plague, who are actually suffering from COVID-19. During that time also, international organizations were of great help. Like for example, if any virus, if there is any spread of the virus, if that virus becomes a plague, during that time only the international organization helped those members for the cure, like for example giving vaccination to each and every people. This is a part of international organization to help those people who are actually suffering from the disease. Also, an international organization can help produce information and ideas about how to cooperate, as it can provide mechanism, rules, and a bureaucracy to help members have more confidence that cost will be shared properly and that benefits can be fairly divided. Now, if I talk about an international organization, first of all, international organization provides information to each and other member countries, for instance, and also on the other hand, international organization provides mechanism, it provides rules, it provides a kind of regulation so that all the states can maintain peace and cooperation among them. Also on the other hand, it provides confidence that cost will be shared properly and the benefits will be fairly divided. Now, international cooperation helps those member states so that shares can be divided properly. Also on the other hand, the benefits can be divided properly. So this is actually the main integrated term of the international organization. Also, nations can recognize the best to cooperate but cannot always agree on how best to do so, how to share cost of cooperating, and how to make sure that benefits of cooperating are just fairly divided. Now, without international organization, nations cannot help themselves. Actually, nations can cooperate with other countries, but international organization is a support set that all the nations can build up together and can cooperate with each other, but a single nation cannot cooperate with the other nation. You can say international organization acts as a mediator. Now, international organization IOs are established by states to foster global cooperation, set international standards, maintain peace, and address transnational challenges like economic crisis, health emergencies, and environmental issues. Now, if I talk about international organization, why they are established, the main reason for the establishment of international organization is to foster global cooperation. To foster global cooperation, first of all, to set up international standards. To set up international standards, also on the other hand, to maintain peace and address transnational challenges, transnational challenges like economic crisis, health emergencies, and environmental issues. Now you see, if I talk about international organization, it actually fosters cooperation among the member states. Also on the other hand, if there is any environmental issues, any international issues are there, that can be sorted out with the help of the international organization. I hope so you are clear regarding the international organization. Now we will be understanding about the evolution of the UN. Now, what is the evolution of UN? You see, the First World War encouraged the world to invest in an international organization to deal with conflict. Many believe that such an organization would help the world to avoid war. As a result, the League of Nations was born. However, despite its initial success, it cannot prevent the Second World War. Many more people died and many were wounded in this war than ever before. Now, if I talk about the First World War, during the First World War, what had happened? Many of the nations has encouraged building of a particular international corporation. As there was building of the particular corporation such as the United Nations. Here, the League of Nations was there. You see, before United Nations was considered to be the League of Nations. The League of Nations were built up by the cooperation of different nations. Though it was successful, but it was not successful to eliminate the Second World War. You see, during the Second World War, many of the countries were defeated or were affected. On the other hand, the common people also affected their lives due to the Second World War. The League of Nations was successful, but was not successful in eradicating the Second World War. Also, you see, the UN was founded as a successor of the League of Nations. It was established in 1945, immediately after the Second World War. The organization was set up through the signing of the UN Nation Charter by 51 states. Now, if I talk about United Nations, the UN was a successor of the League of Nations. First, the League of Nations came, and then the successor was the UN. It was being established in the year 1945. Just after the Second World War, the United Nations was being established. Also, on the other hand, the organization was being set up. The organization was being set up by the member states of 51 countries, which means 51 member countries or member states actually signed up for the United Nations. Also, you see, the United Nations objective is to prevent international conflict and to facilitate cooperation among states. It was founded with the hope that it would act to stop the conflict between states escalating into war, and if war broke out, to limit the extent of hostilities. Now, what is the objective of the United Nations? What is the objective of the United Nations? So that they can cooperate with the other nation, first of all, and they can eradicate war. There is no war, or there is less limitations of limitations of war. As a result, there was the establishment of United Nations, first of all. Also, second of all, it actually stops conflict between all the nations. Among all the nations, I'm telling, it stopped escalating war among all the nations, so that peace and cooperation can be maintained among the member states. Also, on the other hand, if there is the war broke out, if the war broke out, then there will be the less extent of hostilities, which means the hostilities will be reduced if United Nations take part to maintain cooperation and peace among the member states. Now, furthermore, since conflicts often arose from the lack of social and economic development, the UN was intended to bring countries together to improve prospects of social and economic development all over the world. Now, if I talk about social and economic development, you see, conflicts often arose from the lack of social and economic development. The UN was intended to bring countries together to improve prospects of social and economic development all over the world. Most of the countries are there which are still in poverty. Most of the countries are there which has no improvement of social and economic development. As a result, the United Nations bring all the nations together, so that all the nations together can help each other and improve the social and economic aspects of a particular country. So this is why there was the evolution of the United Nations. Also, you see, if I talk about the United Nations, by 2006, the UN had 192 member states. This included all independent states in UN General Assembly. All members have one each vote, and the UN Security Council, there were 5 permanent members. Now, by 2006, here if I say about by 2006, there were 196 member states. 196 member states were there, very, very important. And also, on the other hand, there were 5 permanent members, which means in the UN Security Council, there were 5 permanent members, and other 192 member states also joined the organization in the year 2006. Also, there are United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, and China. You see, if I talk about the main countries which were the 5 permanent member states under the UN, first comes the United States, second comes the Russia, the United Kingdom, the France, and the China. They were the permanent members of the United Nations. Very, very important. Also, the states were selected as permanent members as they were the most powerful immediately after Second World War, and because they constitute the victors of the wars. Victors in the wars, yes. Now, you see here, if I talk about this 5 countries, why the 5 countries were included as the permanent members under the United Nations? First comes the United States, the Russia, China comes, France comes, and the United Kingdom, because right after the Second World War, those countries were considered to be the most powerful countries, and they were more victorious during that time after the Second World War. Now, UN's most visible public figure and the representative head is the Secretary General. Very, very important. Now, who is the head of the United Nations? The head of the United Nations is considered to be the Secretary General. The Secretary General is the representative head of the United Nations. Now, the representative head of the United Nations is Antonio Guterres. Antonio Guterres is the recent head of the United Nations. So he is now serving as the chief administrative officer and head of the UN Secretariat. Now he is actually serving as the chief administrative secretariat and the head of the United Nations, or you can say the head of the United Secretariat. Now he is the president, who Antonio Guterres. Also, the UN consists of many different structure and agency. War and peace and differences between member states are discussed in the General Assembly as well as Secretariat Council. Social and economic issues are dealt by many agencies, including the United Nations Development Programme, the United Nations Human Rights Commission, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, the United Commission Children's Fund, and the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization are among the others. Now, if I talk about the UN, the United Nations, it consists of many organizations, it consists of many structures. How? You see, war, peace and differences. War, peace and differences are all culminated by the United Nations itself, which means those are maintained by the United Nations itself. And also there are other organizations which are also like United Nations. Now, what are the organizations there? You see, most of the social and economic issues are being resolved by these agencies. Those agencies are the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, the United Nations Human Rights Commission, the United Nations Human Rights Commission, UNHRC, then the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHRC, the United Nations Children's Fund, the United Nations Children's Fund, also known as UNICEF, and the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, are the important agencies that actually help in the sorting out of issues among the member states. I hope so you are clear regarding the evolution of the UN, and also regarding the international organizations. Now, just look at the picture here. This is the most biggest organization, the United Nations. The United Nations is in Geneva, in United States of America. It is in Geneva. This is the organization that is being established in Geneva. And here, this is the meeting room of the United Nations. You see how big it is. This is the meeting room of the United Nations. You see different member states, different head of the member states actually sit on those seats. They have their own particular seats and they will be discussing important issues in this meeting room. You can see the picture. I hope so you are clear about this chapter, and if you want to know any of the courses regarding our institute, then you can contact us in this number 86383 91721, and thank you for watching my video.